Aloha and welcome to A Course in Miracles. This is the workbook for students and we're on lesson 51. We've made it through the first 50 lessons and now it's time for a review. So, review number 1. Here's the introduction. Beginning with today, we will have a series of review periods. Each of them will cover 5 of the ideas already presented, starting with the first and ending with the 50th. There will be a few short comments after each of the ideas, which you should consider in your review. In the practice periods, the exercises should be done as follows. So here we go. Begin the day by reading the 5 ideas with the comments included. Thereafter, it's not necessary to follow any particular order in considering them. So you can do I like 3 the best. I'll start with it. Though each one should be practiced at least once. Devote 2 minutes or more to each practice period, thinking about the idea and the related comments after reading them over. Do this as often as possible during the day. If any one of the 5 ideas appeals to you more than the others, concentrate on that one. At the end of the day, however, be sure to review all of them once more. It's not necessary to cover the comments that follow each idea either literally or thoroughly in the practice periods. Try rather to emphasize the central point and think about it as part of your review of the idea to which it relates. After you've read the idea and the related comments, the exercises should be done with your eyes closed and when you're alone in a quiet place if possible. So we're going to have 5 of the ideas for the day, each day, and they'll all have a little comment with them. So we'll do in the morning and the evening, we'll do all of them. But throughout the day, we'll concentrate on one. And it says you don't really have to go back and remember necessarily what the comment was because it's really the main idea that we really want to allow it to do its work in our minds. So, this is emphasized for practice periods at your stage of learning. The Course is assuming that all of us or any of us could be starting this course for the first time and doing these exercises for the first time. So that's what it means, your stage of learning. So we're going through this course at the level of as if this was your first time doing it. But it may be your 10th or 12th time doing it. And so you may get more out of it as you see. Sometimes I know I have forgotten some of the principles and I'm like, wow, now I get that one. I didn't get that one before. Or that one has more meaning for me than it did before. I'm finding that for me, and I've done the course, 4 or 5 times at least. So it will be necessary, however, that you learn to require no special settings in which to apply what you've learned. You will need your learning most in situations that appear to be upsetting, rather than those that already seem to be calm and quiet. And that's what I like. I love doing my lessons and just the calm and quiet and just having everything just like it, the right lighting in the room, the right ambiance. And, if I'm out in nature, I don't want any bugs around me, kind of things like that. But really, this is saying that the time we really need it are when we're upset or aggravated or something hits us out of nowhere in the middle of the day. And that's the time we want to especially remember the idea for today, because that's when we're really going to be practicing it. It's not really difficult to practice these lessons, in the quiet serenity. Like, I'll get up in the morning before anyone else, and it's just me there doing my lesson, and it's just totally easy. I have everything just like it. But it's throughout the day when things happen and come out of nowhere that I have to remember to continue to do these lessons and not forget, or if I do, not to beat myself up for doing it. Here's the purpose of your learning, is to enable you to bring the quiet with you and to heal distress and turmoil. And after having done these lessons in this workbook a number of times and been in the course for more than 10 years, I can say that I'm able to do that more and more, to bring the quiet with me and to heal distress and turmoil. It really works. This is not done by avoiding them and seeking a haven of isolation for yourself, which really, being honest with you, that's my tendency, is to avoid problems and seek isolation for myself. But the Course is helping me more and more to see that I've got to really walk through these things and see them head on for what they really are, and realize that they're just illusions and there's nothing to be afraid of. But I have to be able to look my problems and situations and events face on, right in the eyes, and remember these lessons while I'm standing there confronting, or not necessarily even, maybe confronting is not the best word, but observing these problems with Jesus or with the Holy Spirit. You will yet learn that peace is part of you and requires only that you be there to embrace any situation in which you are. That's a good word for it. To be able to embrace any situation that you're in. Not to run from it, not to avoid it, but to embrace it. And finally, you will learn that there is no limit to where you are, so that your peace is everywhere as you are. Because the Course will teach us that we are spirit. Our true self is not a body, that we are spirit, like God is spirit, and we are everywhere. There is no place where we aren't, just like there's no place where God isn't. And there's no place where we are. And wherever, you may have a friend thousands of miles away that you can think about right now, and you can bring peace into their situation. And healing into their lives. It doesn't matter that they're so far away, because you are everywhere. Once we learn that we're not a body, and we stop identifying, not that we don't live in the body anymore, we still do. It's kind of like, you remember in the story of Jesus, he lived in a body, but he didn't identify himself as a body. He saw himself in the face of every person he met. He saw the Christ in them. So, the Christ in me is also in you. Wherever you are, I am, because we share that same life. You will note that for review purposes, some of the ideas are not given in quite their original form. Use them as they are given here. It's not necessary to return to the original statements, nor to apply the ideas as was suggested then. So you don't have to go back and reread Lesson 1, Lesson 2, Lesson 3. We'll just use the way the statement is given in these review lessons. We are now emphasizing the relationship between these first 50 ideas that we've covered. So that's what we're looking at, how each one is related. And I tried to do a little bit of that as we were going along. As you remember, especially in the beginning, I would go back and read some of the ones before, and you could kind of catch how they were related to one another. Like there was a lot about vision, a lot about seeing, if you remember. And we're looking to emphasize the cohesiveness of the thought system to which they are leading you. And this is the cohesive thought system. It flows together. So here we are now, we're on lesson 51, the first of the review lessons. The review for today covers the following ideas. 1. Nothing I see means anything. The reason this is so is that I see nothing. I see nothing. Surprise. And nothing has meaning. In other words, I see nothing, and nothing has meaning. How can nothing have any meaning? But that's what I'm seeing. I think I'm seeing something with meaning, but really I'm seeing nothing, and nothing cannot possibly have meaning. So nothing I see means anything for this reason. And it's necessary that I recognize this, that I may learn to see. It's necessary that I recognize that I see nothing in order that I can learn to see. What I think I see now is taking the place of vision. I must let it go by realizing it has no meaning, so that vision may take its place. So here we go. We're talking about vision right here in lesson number 1. Then lesson number 2 said, I've given what I see all the meaning it has for me. I've judged everything that I look upon, and it is this and only this I see, my judgments. This is not vision. It is merely an illusion of reality, because my judgments have been made quite apart from reality. I am willing to recognize the lack of validity in my judgments because I want to see. My judgments have hurt me, and I do not want to see according to them. You know, and this is like, it's our judgments. The Course says that because of the time element, between the time we make a judgment, like that person is wrong and they should be punished, we're always forgiving ourselves, we're always judging ourselves. And so we don't have the capacity to be a judge. We can't judge, but we do it anyway. And when we do, we pronounce that judgment upon ourselves, and it comes back on us. But a lot of times, because of the time element between the time that we give it and the time that we receive it, we forget that we are the ones who cause. We are the cause. Our thought, our attack thought, was the very thing that we're experiencing now. But we don't, because of the time in between and the space in between, we have time to forget that we are the ones who made that attack thought or that attack and upon ourselves when we attack someone else. And now we're experiencing it, but we think, oh, so-and-so is attacking me. And we blame other things out there as attacking us. But the Course says that it's my judgments that have hurt me, and I do not want to see according to them. Number 3, I do not understand anything I see. How could I understand what I see when I've judged it amiss? What I see is the projection of my own errors of thought. I do not understand what I see because it's not understandable. There's no sense in trying to understand it. But there's every reason to let it go, to let my judgment go, and to make room for what can be seen and understood and loved. I love that. I can exchange what I see now for this merely by being willing to do so. That's all, just a little willingness. Is it not a better choice than the one that I made before? And number 4 was these thoughts. So the first 3 were about what we see or think we see with our physical eyes. Now it's our thoughts. These thoughts do not mean anything. The thoughts of which I'm aware do not mean anything because I'm trying to think without God. What I call my thoughts are not my real thoughts. My real thoughts are the thoughts that I think with God. And you might say, well, why am I not thinking with God? Because we think that we're separate. The whole idea of what the Course calls atonement is the idea that the separation never occurred. But if we don't accept the atonement, or that idea that the separation never occurred for ourselves, we're still believing that we are separate from God and from each other. So, if we think we're separate and we're living thinking separate, we can't possibly be even thinking, because the truth is we're not separate. And so thinking that we're separate and thinking thoughts of separation, attack, hate, depravity, lack, all these thoughts that we're thinking, we're not really thinking them at all, because it's not even true that the things that we're thinking about, because we're not separate. So that's what it's talking about here. My real thoughts are the thoughts I think with God. I am not aware of them because I've made these thoughts of separation to take their place. I am willing to recognize that my thoughts do not mean anything, and to let them go. I choose to have them be replaced by what they were intended to replace, the thoughts of God. My thoughts are meaningless, but all creation lies in the thoughts that I think with God. And the 5th one, I am never upset for the reason I think. This is one that I'm constantly using whenever I get upset. I'm never upset for the reason I think, because I'm constantly trying to justify my thoughts, these thoughts of separation or anger or all the different thoughts that separation gives rise to: jealousy, hatred, envy, strife, conflict, all these thoughts that come from the idea of being separate, fearful thoughts. I'm always trying to justify my thoughts that maybe I think I'm being mistreated or whatever. I think I want to be right. The ego would rather be right than happy. And so it's always trying to justify its thoughts. And so it gets upset. And it's upset over thoughts that are illusion and illusionary things, because its thoughts are not real. So that's why it's not upset for the reason it thinks. I am constantly trying to make my thoughts true. I make all things my enemy so that my anger is justified and my attacks are warranted. I have not realized how much I've misused everything that I see by assigning this role to it. I've done this to defend a thought system that has hurt me and that I no longer want. And I'm willing to let it go. And this is the thought system of the ego that the Holy Spirit is trying to get us to see that we can make another choice. All we have to do is first let go of the choice that we made. And we are the ones who chose the thought system of the ego. So we are the ones that have to make a different choice. So I hope that these lessons will be very insightful for you today, and I hope that you'll have a good experience of remembering to do the exercises, and that you'll see them working for you and whenever situations arise. And so I'm encouraged, and I hope you are too. I'm already enjoying doing this workbook with you. So have a good evening or day or whatever time it is for you. And I will see you everywhere. I will see you tomorrow. Aloha.